So welcome back to the Property Frontline. Today we're doing something a little bit different. I'm here with the amazing Jane Purnell from Holsworth Partners. Hi, Jane. So Jane is a financial planner, accountant, and can help you access funds for purchasing in an SMSF. And today she's going to be firing the questions at me in relation to what kinds of properties you can actually purchase in your SMSF and related issues around that. So, should we get started, Jane?
Sounds great.
Okie dokie. So, where are we starting? So
I guess I'll just take over, eh?
Yeah, that's right. You drive.
I'll drive and I'll let you under the hot seat.
That's right.
Absolutely. So look, it's fantastic to sort of do this because it's always such an interesting topic that I have with clients about what kind of property can be in their self-managed super fund. So it's great to be able to ask you these questions, Debra, so we can share them with everybody.
Yeah.
Okay, so what type of property suits a self-managed super fund best?
Okay, so we always start with the buyer, right? And I know that's your starting point as well. So at the Property Frontline, we can buy any type of property as long as it's right for the buyer Australia-wide. When we are looking at properties for an SMSF, we're really starting with some good performance drivers. And so no matter whether it's a residential property or a commercial property, what we want to do is find property that has excellent capital growth, really good rental return, ideally off the charts rental return. So things with maybe dual income, like where, you can rent out a granny flat as well as or it might be a duplex. And the other thing we want is, if possible, some good potential. So whether you're actually going to realise that in the SMSF, but the reason why we want to buy property that still has good potential in it, and by that I mean property that might be able to be subdivided later in its life. The reason we try to find property like that, as long as all the other criteria is met, is because it will mean that your property is really, really popular. Because some buyers really want to have the property in their SMSF, get really good capital growth and have the rent pay down the loan, and then they'll live off the rent. But then some people actually plan, which makes me cry. They plan to sell in the end. But yeah, so number one, it's all about the individual. Yeah.
So a lot of those people, should they have a bit of an idea of what they want before they come to you, and what kind of things should that be?
So it's fine for people to come with an idea of what they want, particularly, if you're a business owner, you might want to have a particular type of property in your SMSF that you can then move your business into and rent back. Or some people might have an idea of what type of residential property they want. But what we would always do is take those requirements into account and then look at how we could upsize, for want of a better word. We try and enhance their ideas and their targets because, we can see what's happening in the market. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So is there any particular property types or situations that you should avoid when purchasing property?
Oh, absolutely. So we really don't advise buying house and land packages or off the plan properties, mainly because there's really great properties already available, and where we really want certainty when we're buying in an SMSF. Like, you want bankable results, and you want to be able to rent the property out as soon as possible. The other thing that we really avoid, like the plague, is like weird deal type properties like NDIS properties where, you know, the government's supposed to be paying or guaranteeing the rent, but only for a certain amount of time. We just want really clean, clear, bankable properties that are within the budget range of the buyer.
Excellent, excellent. And that makes sense because, you know, I mean, you want to be able to set it up and not have to be actively, constantly worrying about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Excellent. So what due diligence steps become even more important when buying in a self-managed super fund?
Well, really, we have very high due diligence requirements anyway, so they're the same as what we would use whether we're buying outside of an SMSF. But in relation to due diligence, we really start with, once again, the location drivers. So what's happening in an area? Is there a lot of babies being born in an area? So all of the, you know, the normal capital growth, what would I call them? The normal capital growth indicators that we would dig for. And then from like once we've like narrowed down the area and we're looking at the different types of property, then it's really looking at it from a number of different layers. So will the price that we're able to purchase that property for, will that be a really reasonable? So is it going to be within our reach? We would always run a building and pest inspection for every property if it's not already supplied. And then we do lots of council checks. So what's under the ground? What's the zoning? What potential does that property have? So things like, we prefer property that slopes to the street if it's a residential property. Commercial would be a little bit different. There's like a range of different criteria we would use for that, and I will talk about that in a second. But yeah, other very important due diligence activities are things like checking to see what's under the ground. Like, are there any easements on a property that would mean that you can't build in certain parts further down the track? Or if you've got like a big sewer, like the council sewer pipes running in a different direction, that would mean the property is not going to be as valuable as the property across the street. And then we need to consider the rental viability. So what's the difference between the ownership? So there's a lot of homeowners in the area. Is it going to be a popular house for people to rent out? And what is the vacancy rate? So what are the other influences on that particular property to make sure that you'll be able to continue to get good returns? The other thing that we do quite often is look at a property from that opportunity perspective. We'll buy property that might need a little bit of work, but where we might negotiate in the deal before we bought it. We might negotiate that certain things need to happen, like it might need to be repainted or new carpets or something like that. We can package that all up in the deal. And then when we talk about commercial, with commercial, it can be quite like and it's very nuanced depending on the type of property that you buy. But with commercial, we want property where we know that it has got some good multiple options and also the right type of tenant that would go into a commercial property. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
There's a lot of things. A lot of things.
Yeah, a lot of things.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
it does sort of come down to like we've got a checklist of over 150 data points that we have to consider, depending on what the property is. Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Okay, so I'm a self-managed super fund buyer. How should I decide whether or not to use a buyer's agent?
So, look, some people are quite confident in actually purchasing by themselves. Number one reason that people would choose a good buyer's agent to help them is to once again make sure that they're getting the best opportunities. So, because we can source properties from an off-market perspective, and a number of different ways. Like we can go direct to some property managers and get property that way. So people usually come to a buyer's agent for that range of opportunity. The other thing, if you're busy, it is quite labour intensive to do some really good shortlisting, good due diligence, because when you're buying, everything has to happen at once. Otherwise you miss out on the property in a hot market. So you'll go to a buyer's agent to actually help with that heavy lifting. And then really it comes down to the quality and negotiation skills of a buyer's agent, because you will be paying the buyer's agent to do the work, and a good buyer's agent will cover, and sometimes 10 times cover, the cost of using them, so you'll get a better deal, or you should.
You should. Fantastic. Which really ties in with the next question, which is about how much does a buyer's agent cost, and do you really add value? Which
Yeah,
you
all
pretty
right.
much just covered off on.
Sorry, spoke too early. Right. So, costs, it's a very tricky topic, because I have my opinion. So the buyer's agent industry is still quite embryonic. So it's still in the early stages. And so when we charge our clients, we charge a flat fee. So for the full service, it's 12,000 plus GST. And that's paid in a couple of different points. So you pay a little bit up front, and then you don't pay until you've actually got an unconditional contract. That, I believe, is the way it should be done. A lot of buyers agents who flip over from being sales agents, they will charge by percentage of the purchase price. And that is quite acceptable. And I think it's bad. It drives me nuts, actually, because by paying by percentage, you're incentivizing the buyer's agent to pay more for a property, because the higher they pay for a property, the more they're going to be paid. So I really think it should be mandated that you shouldn't pay by percentage. But really, it's up to the buyer to decide which way they want to go. The other thing to be very, very aware of is, if you do find a buyer's agent and they promise you the world, and then they say, oh, like, we're not finding the quality of existing property, why don't you buy this recently built property that is still considered to be brand new? You have to be very careful, because often they are taking a commission, and if they're still charging you, that is illegal. A buyer's agent shouldn't be taking money from both sides, and I think a lot of people get ripped off with that. So
That's happening a lot from what I've read. The property developers, task buyers agents to sell on their properties, and in return they get a clip, which makes sense.
And those types of people are like, they're really marketers. They're not buyers agents, but it's like the government can't stop it. And they will only tell buyers just one side of the story. So they won't tell you the full story. And number one, like, they are not looking at all of the property that is available for that buyer. So you're not getting the best deal, and it could be putting yourself in, like, sending yourself backwards instead of 10xing your retirement, which is what, you should be doing.
Why we're doing this. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And the same with the flat buyers agent fee. I mean, I know in financial services, we made that shift many, many years ago. A lot of, I mean, it was a big encouragement that it's not in financial services, it's not, you can still charge a percentage, but it's best practice to always charge flat fees. So we do the same. I mean, it's about flat fees so that you're open and clear from the beginning with the client. Whereas the percentages, like you said, you're encouraging them to spend more money on the property, have them, borrow the max amount to spend as much as possible, and it may not be always in the best interest.
No, it's like 99.9% not in the best interest. The people that do it, and even in the financial services industry, they're just like such good salespeople and such good marketers that, like, buyers and clients just like get on the treadmill and they don't realize the mistakes they're making until it's too late. And then it's like, oh, well, I had it in the fine print. Oh, no.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody reads the fine print. They need you to be open and honest with it.
Yeah.
From day one. Yeah. Yeah, no. It is an important aspect of it all. Right. So what should I expect, or a client expect, from a buyer's agent when purchasing through a self-managed super fund?
Okay, so first up, you want them to have really good communication, because you want your buyer's agent to be flexible enough to and smart enough to be able to communicate with all the other people in on your team. So if your buyer's agent is like, oh, don't use that person, even if you've been using Jane for years, and they say, oh no, I've got someone better over here, like, don't do that. And then you want them to have really good strategic knowledge and the skill to be able to build a strategy that works for the individual. And so that's about communication skills again, and also about listening to what the buyer wants to achieve. And the buyer's agent should be giving you a range of, or they should be contributing to your idea of what you can achieve. So making it easy for you. Of course, buyer's agency is a service, so you shouldn't be having to chase up your buyer's agent or feel like you can't ask as many questions as you want. And then, you should be working with someone who is very, very organized. So they're really structured with using the buyer's time, because the buyers, got a life to lead. And so really want to be efficient with their time. And then you want them to be able to work with you as the buyer so that you can have as much or as little, interaction or influence over the purchase. So some buyers, like, they just haven't got the time, and so they really just only want to see, one or two, the best options on the market each week, and others really want to look at the big detail. So make sure that your buyer's agent is working to your timeline and the amount of information you need. And then you want your buyer's agent to be really, really well connected, have a lot of experience and be able to prove it. And yeah, have really good negotiation skills, so that you'll get a great deal. And the other thing is aftercare. So you don't want a buyer's agent, and it's one of those really good questions that you should ask when you're deciding who you're going to work with. Ask the question, what happens after I buy? So like once you've purchased, you still need to know what's going on with the property. And while you might be working with a property manager, it's great if you've got a buyer's agent that you can call and say, hey, the property manager said I should get a new stove. What do you think about that? Or the buyer's agent should be coming back to you with updates and just dealing with anything else that happens after the deal is over.
Okay, that's really good. I guess that sort of also follows through my next and last question is what some of the questions I should ask buyer's agents when selecting one?
Yeah. So first up, I would be asking about their approach. So getting your buyer's agent to explain what their search approach is like, and how the process will work. Of course, ask about the fees and the breakdown of that. Never, ever, ever pay the full fee up front. Do not do that for anything in life. Particularly with services, you only pay a certain amount up front to get started. That's fair enough. And then once the job is done, that's when you should pay the full amount. What are the other things I would ask about? Their qualifications, how fast or slow they think the process might take, and ask about the types of properties they buy and the locations that they buy in. What else would I ask? How do they get paid, and do they take commissions? And will they work with members of your team?
Yeah. Excellent. That's fantastic. Thank you very much, Debra. It's been awesome interviewing you. And I'll hand it back to you to close out.
Alrighty. Well, thanks, Jane. Thanks for asking the questions. I really enjoyed answering them. But yeah, so thanks to everyone who's been watching. If you would like to contact me or contact Jane, our details will be in the description box below, and feel free to reach out to either of us. And if you like what you have seen, make sure you give us a like and subscribe, because we'll have other sessions like this that are coming up. But for now, thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.
So thank you. Bye.